Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. So our first na coding example is we want to write a program that accepts an integer from the terminal and then displays the absolute value of the integer. So, but first we have to define a solution to the problem. So how do we compute for an absolute value? So a straightforward way to calculate the absolute value of an integer is to simply negate the number if it is less than 0. So we note that we can use another package to do this. We can use math.h, but for now, what if we provide the solution ourselves? So, okay, so this is one solution that we can do. So we can just simply negate the number if it is less than 0. So this is the expected na output. So for example, we ask the user to enter a number, and the user entered a value of 5. So since it's already positive, its absolute value is also 5. So what if the user enters a -5? So it will the produced na result should be also a 5. Okay, so since the absolute value of -5 is 5. So, but first, let's make a flow chart. So what we want again is to prompt the user to type in a number and evaluate whether the number is positive or negative. And if it is a negative, or if it is less than 0, then we negate the number and then we print the absolute value. Okay, so here's the code in how on how we can write this one. So we first type in a number, and then we evaluate the number if it is negative, and if it is negative, it will negate the number and print absolute value. Okay, so let's see how it works on the terminal. Okay, so let's write it ourselves. Okay, so we are calculating for the absolute value of the value of the number. Okay, so first we include the preprocessor directive for the input and the output. So and then we write the function main. So we don't need this arguments. So let's just delete that one. And then for our code, so we wanted the user to enter the number. So what should we do? We ask the user to enter a number. Okay, right. So, and we also scan it. So we want an integer, %p, %p, and we will save this into a variable. But the problem is we have not defined a variable yet. So again, this code will not work if we have not declared a variable yet. So say int n. Okay, so we save it. The value that was entered by the user will be saved in the variable n. Okay, now we will set a condition, set a condition to determine whether the number entered or the n na variable is positive or negative. Okay, or is negative na lang. Is negative. Okay. And so how can we do that? So we will write an if else na condition, if else na statement. So if your n is less than 0, so if n is less than 0, then we write that we print f the number entered is negative. And we also negate the number. So how can we negate the number? So we set n equals negative of n. Okay, so the negative of a negative is a positive na integer. So at the bottom of our program, we write printf the absolute value of a number, of the number entered entered %d. The number entered is %d. So we write here the entered is %d, or simply the n. So if you want to also write the original number, then we will have to set a different variable. So if we want to retain the original value of the number entered, so we can use a different variable for that. So let us try whether this code works. Okay, so we are in lecture 3, and we first compile x1 underscore if x1 underscore if .c. Okay, we have an error. We have a double int name. Okay. Oops. We have not saved it. Okay, x1 square if. So we enter a number. So let's say 5. So yes, the absolute value of the number entered is 5. So let's try running it again. What if we enter a -5? So then it prints out the number entered is negative, and the absolute value of the number entered is 5. So our logic is correct. Okay. And